Hello, everyone, and welcome to a playoff football edition of the Portage Daily Register Sports Webcast. I'm Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And earlier Friday, the WIAA released its playoff football brackets, all 224 teams in all 7 divisions. So this afternoon, we're going to be taking a look at all 6 games involving teams from the area, beginning in Division 3, where Lodi will be traveling to take on 4th-seeded Wisconsin Dells. Lodi is 6-3 overall this season, 3-2 in the Capital North Conference. That's runner-up behind champions Poynette and Lakeside Lutheran. Meanwhile, Wisconsin Dells is 4-5 overall, 3-2 in the South Central Conference, where they finished 3rd. Lodi is averaging 28.1 points per game and allowing 15.6, while the Chiefs are scoring 15.8 per game and allowing 24.6 per game.
Yeah, and for Lodi, this is kind of nowhere. They move up to Division 3. They were actually in Division 4 last year when they made it all the way to the state semifinals. For Lodi, it's their 10th straight playoff appearance, and they are 9-11 all-time in the postseason. For the Chiefs, they are making their 4th straight playoff appearance, but they have lost their last 6 games in the playoffs. And their last playoff win wasn't until way back in 1986. So, and another note on this, there used to be South Central Conference rivals. They before Lodi left to go to the Capital Conference, they were in the South Central with Chiefs.
And just a note on the Chiefs here, 4th seeded, but they needed wins in their final 2 conference games to bump up to 3-2 in the conference to make the playoffs. So interesting note there. Moving along to a Division 4 matchup where Montello, Princeton, Green Lake in the Large Trailways Conference will be hosting New Holstein in the Eastern Wisconsin Conference. MPGL scoring 34.2 points per game this season while allowing 17.9. They're 7-2 overall, 5-1 in the conference. That's runner-up behind champion Partyville. Meanwhile, New Holstein scoring 27.9 points per game and allowing 17.2, and they tied for 3rd in the Eastern Wisconsin.
Yeah, this should be a good game if you like points. Montello, Princeton, Green Lake is obviously a high-scoring team. They're making their 2nd straight playoff appearance. They were bumped out in the opening round last year. For New Holstein, they're actually making their 5th straight appearance in the postseason. Let's see here. They advanced to level 2 last season before losing, so they got a little playoff history themselves.
Should be a fun, like you said, a fun game to watch for anybody that wants to see some points go up on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and that game's at Princeton, by the way.
And moving on to Division 5, 2nd seeded Partyville will be hosting Auburndale in their 1st round matchup. Partyville 7-2 this season and 6-0 in the Large Trailways. We mentioned the champions in that conference, scoring 31.9 points per game and allowing 10.8 points per game. Stingy defense for the Bulldogs. Meanwhile, Auburndale 29.6 points per game, and they're giving up 22.3 per contest.
Yeah, and Partyville obviously has some playoff history. This is actually their 12th straight playoff appearance. It'll also be the final playoff appearance for head coach Mike Haynes, who recently announced that he plans on retiring at the end of the season. The Bulldogs are 6-11 in the playoffs under Haynes' 13th season in Partyville. And Auburndale actually is ending a 4-year playoff drought. Let's see here. They actually are in the same conference as Edgar and Stratford, who have won. They've combined to win the last 7 state championships in Division 6, so you know they play in a good conference.
And obviously, anytime you can play competition of that quality heading into the playoffs, it gets you ready for those playoff games when the intensity level is just a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
Another Division 5 game, Poynette, out of the Northern Capital Conference, is going to be hosting previously mentioned Stratford. Poynette had the 17-14 overtime win down in Lake Mills against Lakeside Lutheran here a couple days ago to earn a share of the conference title there. They're scoring 25.1 points per game and allowing 13.4. 7-2 overall, 4-1 in the Capital North. Meanwhile, Stratford 37.9 points per game, they can really put it up there. And they're only allowing 14 per game. 7-2 overall, 7-1 in the Merriwood Conference, runner-up behind Edgar.
Yeah, this is a tough opening draw on paper for Poynette. I mean, Stratford is one of the state powers, I guess, historically. They are making their 19th straight playoff appearance, and they won 6 straight. That's right, 6 straight Division 6 titles from 2003 to 08. But last season they did lose in the opening round of the playoffs, so they can be beat. Poynette is making its 12th playoff appearance in 13 years, so they got some playoff history too. But they have lost their last 3 playoff games, so it'd be a tough matchup for them, no doubt.
A couple other interesting notes about that game. It'll be interesting to see, one, how Poynette responds to obviously an emotional victory in the finale there against Lakeside Lutheran, and whether or not they can keep the adrenaline and the intensity up to play Stratford, who is the second lowest enrollment school in Division 5. Previously, like Travis mentioned, playing in Division 6. And just one final note on Stratford. Their contest with conference foe Edgar this season, they lost 32-0. So I don't know if that tells you anything about the balance of power in that conference this season, but nonetheless, a tough game for Poynette to start the playoffs. Moving down to Division 7, CambriaFriesland will host Wisconsin Rapids Assumption. CF seated 4th there on that side of the bracket. CF scoring 25.4 points a game and allowing just a hair over 20.1. 6-3 overall, 5-2 in the Small Trailways Conference, good for 3rd. Meanwhile, Assumption 16.9 points per game, allowing 13.9. Some defensive battles there for them this season. They're 6-3 overall in the Cloverwood Conference, where there are 10 teams, so a full conference slate for those Cloverwood schools.
Yeah, and the CambriaFriesland just keeps going to the playoffs. This is their 16th straight playoff appearance, so they know a thing or two about the postseason. But they have bowed out in the opening round the last 3 seasons, and all time the toppers are 18-17 in the playoffs, including a Division 7 state title in 2002. For Assumption, they're ending a 2-year playoff drought, but haven't won a playoff game since 2000. So they got some history, but no recent success really.
And then moving on to the final game involving an area team, also in Division 7, WIAA, is going to be hosting Living Word Lutheran. They're over in Jackson, a little bit north of Germantown. Living Word Lutheran seated 2nd, coming over to play WIAA at Portage High School. So, interesting situation there. The higher seeded team going to be on the road to open the playoffs. WIAA 6-3 overall, 4-3 in the Small Trailways Conference, scoring 24.1 points per game and allowing 16 per contest, while Living Word Lutheran is scoring 31.2, allowing 15.8. They're 7-2 overall, 6-2 in the Midwest Classic Conference, where they finished 2nd this season.
Yeah, and Living Word riding a little bit of a cold streak. They lost 2 of their last 3 games, so maybe they're a little vulnerable, but who knows? They're also a good team, obviously. For WIAA, they're making their 5th straight and 5th overall playoff experience, so all their playoff history is relatively recent. They are 2-4 all time in the postseason. Did win an opening round game last year. Just comparing them against playoff teams this year, they're 0-2 against Randolph and Cambria, the only 2 playoff teams they played in the regular season this year.
But especially Randolph, really dominated pretty much everyone on their schedule this season. So
Right.
At least Ryle's seen some elite competition, should have them ready for the playoffs this season. And for any of you looking to go check out any of these games, they're all 7 o'clock starts on Tuesday. Winners will move on to play in Level 2 of the playoffs the following Saturday. Thanks everyone for watching. For Travis, I'm Dan. We will see you again soon. Take care.